I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam podcast. Joining me is Coleman Hodges, SwimSwam head of production, and the guy on the scene, on deck at all the swim meets. And today, we're talking with an icon, a Canadian swimming star, the professor of freestyle, a really great human being, Brent Hayden.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Olympic medalist, world champion, entrepreneur. The reason why I really wanted to have you on and talk to you was I wanted to get into some deep knowledge on freestyle, and we're going to get to that toward here in a little bit. And hopefully we can help some young swimmers out with some information and places to go. Because I got to tell you, I always wanted to be a freestyler. I kind of pulled it together at the end of my career. So, and I won a bronze medal on a relay, but I never fully got it. So I've always been fascinated by people who know how to do this and do it beautifully. And when I see you swim, you really are just beautiful in the water. So I can't wait to get into that. But we do need to our audience has told us that we get our best stuff toward the end of our podcasts. And so we're going to throw a lot at you here in the beginning, just for fun stuff. And typically the conversation, what happens at the end. So we're just going to go right off the bat. What year did you shave your head and why?
Okay. So that was in 2007, right before the World Championships. I'll be honest. Okay, this is me being a man coming to terms with his hairline. We were at a beach recently, and somebody had taken a picture of the group of us from the back, and I noticed a bald spot starting on the back of my head, and I was like, "Oh my god, it looks terrible." And yeah, that was just like I just decided right there to just pull out the clippers and just shave it off. And I remember everybody on the team at our team meeting was just like completely shocked when I walked in. But after my first meet with a shaved head, won a gold medal. It was the World Championships, and it just kind of stuck with that.
It's I think that goes along with the shaved head look. You wear it well, 6'5", 190 pounds. When you enter a room, we see you coming. But what really tops off the look are those sweet, sweet frames. Where do you get the glasses? Because you always have the coolest glasses.
Oh man, well that's a compliment. I never really thought too much about it. I just go to I think it's called like Lens Crafters here at the mall at Metro Town.
So disappointed. I wanted something. I was expecting something super cool. Like I fly to London. There's a special shop.
No, we don't do that. But these ones are per sol. So these ones are handmade in Italy. So
ooh,
those are my favorite ones.
All right. Well, I've actually, I was a fan from afar, but I had the pleasure of actually flying up and spending a few days with you on a commercial shoot that we did. And you were extraordinarily professional, spot on. You got it. I got to meet your lovely wife. So, forget about you. How's your wife doing? Is she singer-songwriter? What's going on in her life?
Yeah, she's doing great. She's writing new music right now. So she's teamed up with an amazing producer. The stuff they've been coming up with, she's working with a bunch of great people. Like the music is absolutely fantastic. It was actually funny last year because she's a child star in the Middle East, right? That's how people know her. So she actually went to Egypt, even though she's from Lebanon. Her song was the biggest in Egypt, had the biggest impact there. So she went on to the show. It's one of it's basically the Oprah of the Middle East. I can't pronounce it. And she sang her old song with a 50-piece orchestra. And it went like millions of views in the first 24, 48 hours. Like it was absolutely insane.
She's lovely. And, here's the thing. I had an impression of you because you're a big guy. You're a sprint man. You burn the nitro when you do it, and you've done it consistently for so many years. A little intimidated, and I didn't know what to expect. And seeing you and spending time with you, you're really a a charismatic, empathetic person, but I think that what really comes through is that you love design. You're an artist. You're a passionate photographer. You've had exhibits. Tell me about your photography and how did that develop?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say like about the intimidation thing. I once had another swimmer in the ready room tell me like, Brent, I was really intimidated by you until you opened your mouth. And like, okay, I guess that's a compliment. So I always thought that kind of always stuck with me, that I guess like my appearance seems to intimidate people, but that's never the intention. I just like getting up and racing. But the photography is something I've always done. As far back as I can remember, I remember picking up my parents' old film, Canon camera, and wanting to photograph with it. In high school, we actually had a photography class with a darkroom. Right, so this is still before digital, so I'm kind of exposing my age here a little bit. And I really fell in love with the whole process of shooting on film, not having the instant feedback of like on the review screen. Like I really get lost in that viewfinder, and then going into the dark room and playing around in there and seeing really what comes up on the paper when you put it into the developer bath. It's really it's kind of calming in a way, and especially with the the chaos that comes with swimming, the constant heavy training, the competition. Sometimes I just need an outlet to release and kind of try to find my balance again, and photography allows me to do that. And during this quarantine, I've actually been piecing together my own dark room, so hopefully we'll be doing that and building it out in my parents' basement. I don't know how happy they are that I'm bringing more stuff to store at their house, but they're allowing me to do that. So that's one thing that quarantine has given me time to do.
We can talk about it all day long, but until someone actually sees your work, they're not going to really understand how great you are. You've got a fantastic eye. Your composition of frame it sucks you in. There's something that is things you see an image. It is so odd. It's so familiar. And it stops you. So if I want to see your work, where do I go?
So I got everything on my website, BrentHaydenPhotography.com. But I kind of want to say a little bit about like why I kind of shoot the way I do, and it kind of goes back to how I was using photography as my balance. So as you'll notice in the images, most of them involve water, right? Because obviously water is a big part of me, and that's always where I want to be. But the way I can describe it is there's that space of silence between when the crowd is going crazy and the starter says take your marks, and the crowd goes silent, and all you hear is a lot of nothingness and maybe just the pounding of your own heartbeat beating in your chest. And that's kind of the moment that I try to capture. So I like to go out when the weather isn't great. I prefer to go out when it's like on the edge of rain, right? When you got a storm coming in. And then just using the long exposures and just smooth out all that water. The clouds become streaks, and you kind of bring your focus into an object that I usually have out in the water, and that's kind of like my focus when I'm looking down the lane and kind of blocking all the chaos that's around, on the outside of it.
I love it. I love it. So if you're out there and you're intimidated by Brent Hayden, you don't need to be. This guy is introspective. He's an artist and very interesting to talk to. And if you're going to spend several days doing a commercial shoot, which is a whole lot of downtime and a whole lot of just playing around and having fun, Hayden's your man. Let's pull in. There's something that I didn't know, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't know this. I swear to you, I'm like, how did I not know this? I'm fascinated by people's first Olympics. My first Olympics was not. I didn't perform well, and I was very depressed and a little bit ashamed about it. But I didn't. But I think a lot of athletes have a first Olympics that is that way. Yours was in 2004. You were 20. You were a kid. Green. Didn't work. But I didn't know that you were arrested.
Yeah.
Actually, and it was like by Riot police, beaten up at the 2004 Olympic. I didn't know that. So can you just what happened there?
That was a crazy experience. Like, and I can almost get like flashback when I see, these riots that happen on TV. Like we were like, this was a week after we were done swimming, and we were out, celebrating, doing what most athletes do when they're done competing. And we just ended up at this intersection. It was a bunch of other people that were out late partying, having fun. And we looked down the street, and there's just a lineup of riot police in their full riot gear. And we had no idea what was going on. And suddenly the crowd that we were standing in just turned hostile. Right? They started pulling dumpsters from the walls and pulling them out into the streets as barricades, started picking up objects off the ground, like rocks and bottles or whatnot, and they started throwing them in the direction of the police. And before we as a group could decide what was the best way to get out of there, because somebody had mentioned like we should probably just go back to the village. We're like, yeah, okay, but which way do we go? They just started charging at us, and you could hear a bunch of things getting fired. So I don't know if those were like rubber bullets or anything. We as soon as we saw the line break and started running at us, like we just ran to get out of there. So I ran into a doorway. Well, we all did, to get out of the street, just so we didn't get hit with anything. And so I ran inside, and when I thought I was safe, I stopped. And then this hand just reaches over my shoulder and just grabs me by the shirt and just yanks me out into the street. And I got thrown face down. They beat me up for a few minutes with their batons, kicking me with their steel-toed boots. The other athletes said there were about 5 of them beating me at the same time. While I'm protecting my head, I actually reached into my pocket because I had my ID attached. The lanyard was looped around my belt loop. So I pulled it out of my pocket and I held it above my head and screamed, "I'm an athlete, please stop hitting me." They actually ripped it off and tossed it aside. One of the other athletes actually picked it up and saved it for me, because I would have been in a lot of trouble if I had lost that, because that's your passport to the games. You can't get into the village without that, as you know. And as soon as they were done, I just put my arms behind my head or behind my back and just cuff me, just please stop hitting me. And I was in handcuffs for about an hour, 45 minutes. And actually, while I was protecting my head, they actually cracked my elbow really good. So that's why I couldn't swim at the World Short Course Champs after those games, because I couldn't move my arm for a couple of weeks. But I remember sitting there. One, I had already had a bad performance experience. Right? I didn't race well at all. I feel like I let my relay team down, and we missed a shot in the medal. And so I had already had to kind of come to terms with that. And now here I am, sitting on the ground against a wall with my hands cuffed behind my back. And I'm just thinking like this is what I dreamed of my entire life, was getting to the Olympics. And this is how it went. Like, I couldn't believe what had happened. And I was a good kid. Like, I never got in trouble. I think in like my entire like elementary and high school year that I maybe went to detention, count on one hand how many times I got in trouble. Right. So this was pretty shocking for me. And I almost quit swimming after that, because I just didn't know how I could find the passion to want to go to another Olympics after that.
Can you give that some context? What were the riot police doing there? I mean, did you find out later? What was happening in that situation?
Well, in Athens, it seemed like a lot of the population weren't supportive of the games being there. We saw their financial crash, that happened years later. So I think it was probably mostly around the country's economy. And I think as the games grew on, people were just getting more and more aggressive. I guess just get these games over with and just get them out of here. Now, I also feel like that's not a large part of the population. I think the majority of the people there really loved it. But also too, when we saw it in Vancouver in 2011 after we lost a hockey game, we lost the Stanley Cup Finals. All it takes is just a few people to light that spark, and everybody out who is it's out late. Everyone's been drinking, right? It's easy for it's crazy how quickly that mob mentality takes hold, because all these other people that probably weren't even thinking about it probably joined in too.
Thank God you came back from that. It's, I mean, after the death of Floyd, Minneapolis and America, just, you know, the United States exploding in protests. Do you feel triggered? Are you seeing a therapist? Do you feel like you're suffered some trauma?
No, I used to get triggered, especially like, you know, just watching the news and seeing it happen over there, and especially around their economic collapse. Like, they were protesting again, and like, I'm actually like I recognize what the Greek police look like when in the riot gear, and yeah, I got triggered a bit, but I was seeing a psychologist after I got home because of it, and I also had, and this was really unfortunate, but there was a news article that came out about 2 months afterwards, and they mixed the dates of the events up. They said that the night of this arrest, this beating, happened the night before our relay, and said that's why I performed poorly, because I decided to go out late and party, and so when that happened, like, my parents had to they were in the phone book, so they were getting all kinds of nasty voicemails, you know, how I was like a poor ambassador for Canada, and how I should be ashamed of myself, and like those are the nice things that people were saying. So that also turned into a 4-year libel lawsuit because of that. So I was still dealing with that when I was going through the World Champs in 2007, but I don't know. It took me about
maybe it made you tougher.
Yeah, like I think honestly, like after about 2 or 3 months of seeing the psychologist, and of course having a coach that I could speak to, you know, friends I could talk to, my family, I just being able to talk it out, I suddenly realized that I have an opportunity to rewrite my story still. That this doesn't have to be the final chapter, and I think it actually kind of lit the fire under me a little bit more. The swimming was no longer just a thing that I was just doing that I just happened to be good at. I now had something to prove, and I had a story that I needed to write.
So kind of flash us forward to 2007. You decided to shave your head. 2007, a little bit of a different time in swimming. That's, you know, you see a few guys who had shaved heads who didn't wear a cap. Do you wear a cap when you compete?
No, honestly, I never actually liked wearing a cap, even when I was a kid until my early teens. Even with a full head of hair, I didn't start wearing a cap until after I left, got out of summer club. I was a summer club swimmer until I was almost 15 years old. Mm-hmm. So those few years after that, before I started shaving my head, like I was wearing a cap, but I honestly never liked it, because the air bubbles under the cap would distract me when I pushed off the wall, and you feel like the top of the cap moving, and then also like putting a cap on and you're standing there under the hot sun in an outdoor pool before a race, and like my head just overheats. So I do feel like shaving my head, though, it helps me feel the water better, so I can better place my head position.
I skipped ahead a little on this narrative. So the next year, after this incident at your first Olympics, you have a home world champs. How did you feel heading into that? You know, what did you think of your performances? You know, you're on the journey of rewriting your narrative. How does that fall into place?
Yeah, so that was in Montreal, and yeah, it's like I really had something to prove after. I mean, take the whole beating thing out of it. You know, I did not do my job in the 4x200 relay, and you know, we could have won a medal in that, and we ended up 5th. So I really had something to prove, not just to my teammates, but to my country as well. And then having it in Montreal, so you know, almost, you know, not quite a hometown. You know, I'm from Vancouver, but a home country meet. And then just also, you know, finding that fire that I did after, you know, I came to terms with what happened and accepted it, and figured out a way that I could turn that into fuel. And I went into those meets with a real reason to succeed. And I helped 2 of our relays get to silver medals. I almost medaled in the 200 free. I think Rake Neethling just barely out-touched me. And then I had my first 100 free final where I got 6th. So like that was a big, I don't know what, actually, I don't even know what the word was, but a validation, I guess, that I still had something to give to the sport.
You came back. I want to get to the freestyle clinic. But I just out of curiosity, the 2009 World Championships I was there watching every minute of it. Every time someone fell in the pool, there was a world record. Everyone was wearing a rubberized flotation device, and it got to a point where you got numb watching it. You know, so I'm there working, but I'm also there as a fan, and it's so I forgot this, but I remember that you went the 47.2 and a laser. And I remember the year before the laser was a good suit, and by 2009, if you weren't wearing the X-Glide or the Jaked, which was fully rubberized, you were suffering. You swam well. That's your best time, right? I mean, that's extraordinary. What was your headspace going into that 100 free final?
I'll be honest. I wanted to wear one of those other suits, but you know, I was under contractual obligations to, you know, and I wanted to, you know, honor that contract and not break it. So, yeah. So I got stuck in a position where I had to wear an inferior suit out for that final. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a great suit, but it was, you know, last year's model, right? This year's models were a lot faster. So, yeah, and I just missed that podium. I think it was by 2/100ths of a second. Busquets just out touched me, and that's something that I do kind of regret in a way, because and there was actually a great article in SwimSwam a while ago, like we're talking like years ago now, that broke down the time differences and actually was able to take like the average time drops from one suit to the other and actually applied that to my race to see what my time was or would have been if I just worn one of the other suits. And it was like, it would have been like a 46.7 or something. So like
44.7.
Sorry?
44.7.
Oh my God.
No, right. it would have been a 44.7. I'm just kidding. But 46.7. That's correct.
47. And like, so that would mean that I would still be the world record holder. Right. And so that's a status and a title that that I didn't get because of a suit. And it hurts sometimes. On the other hand, I'm also proud of myself at the same time too, because I think that, you know, it kind of just shows my integrity as a person. But at the same time, I was like, you know, it would be cool to have that world record.
You've been a stalwart man in the blue ribbon event, and with a varied career and so much experience from, you know, the terrible 2004 experience, which was traumatic, winning in 2007, 2009, going through that integrity moment, and medaling in 2012, then 7 years of retirement. And I just want to know, how was retirement? Were you loving life?
No, I wasn't living life at all, actually. Retirement was tough. You know, I took a huge financial hit when I retired, because like, you know, because when you're swimming, you've got all your funding, you've got your sponsors, and because I didn't plan on retiring after London. It's just because of the way the year had gone. Actually, the last 4 years had gone. You know, with my chronic back spasms, I was kind of spiraling towards depression as well. I didn't have any solutions for any of the problems that I was having. So I realized, like, you know, I couldn't walk for 4 days, only 2 weeks before the games. That's how bad my back was. So I actually almost thought I was going to retire before the games, because I had a back spasm while at staging camp.
It's crazy. I didn't know that.
And the day of the final, my rib was out of place. So I was dealing with that as well. It was kind of related, like, because I was suffering from these chronic back spasms. And so I think just after all the racing, I just suffered like a small microspasm between one of my ribs, and it just pulled against one of the ribs. And I went to bed feeling fine. And I woke up, I felt like my rib was punching through my skin. But I do feel, though, that all my failures and challenges that I had faced in the past were preparing me to succeed in that moment. Because I think my head was in the right place, even though my body wasn't. And I think it just kind of makes that bronze medal even more valuable to me. for being able to step up like that. But I had no solutions to these things going forward, and I didn't want to be one of the swimmers that's going to kind of fizzle out because I'm not able to train at the level that I want to, or the backside has become too frequent or too intense. I didn't want to go into depression, so I just like, you know what, let's just end this on the high note that it is, and be able to put that as my final stamp. So I took a huge financial hit, and you know, that was tough. I mean, I got married as well right after the games. We flew straight from London to Lebanon and got married there. So I mean, and life was good. I have to thank my amazing wife for you know, being my life partner through this journey. But you know, but finances were pretty tight the whole time. So I really can't say I was living it up. It gave me time though to, you know, do other things like work on my photography. We started a clothing line, Astra Athletica, which is still going, and actually sales have actually picked up during this quarantine, which has been great. And just, you know, I don't know if we want to talk about this now, but like this kind of like, we were doing a lot of private coaching during this time, right? And we were doing private coaching at our pool here. We were traveling across Canada, running clinics with clubs. And my wife actually used to work at one of the top private swim schools in North America. So it was always our philosophy to teach freestyle technique from a teaching perspective rather than a coaching one, right? So we took her teaching philosophy, took my high performance, and we kind of mirrored the two. And over the years, we had developed this curriculum because we would test this with the swimmers, and we were inventing drills to solve problems that we saw these swimmers having. That, you know, we look in our library of drills, like there's no drill that's going to address this problem or address, you know, these 2 or 3 problems at once. So we developed this curriculum, which is a step-by-step progression where we start, you know, from breathing to alignment to body rotation to kick, right? But after a while, the pools kicked us out. We were no longer allowed to do private coaching. Like lifeguards were getting jealous that we were taking away their clients. We had another coach of the club at the pool who didn't like us doing our private coaching because I guess he did private coaching too, and he saw his swimmers coming to us. So like again, there was this professional jealousy going on there. And so without a pool, we just had like, you know what, we need to just put this online. Like let's stop being limited with who and where we're able to provide this. And so last summer we flew back to Lebanon, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to do this there, but it was kind of in the back of our mind that this was one of our goals. And we ended up living just down the street from this amazing pool. It was actually just by fluke, because I actually hopped onto Google Maps one day, turned on the satellite view. I was just looking for all these little blue rectangles from space, right? And I found this one. It was called the Jaita Country Club, and it was just stunning. It's on a mountain looking down the valley towards the Mediterranean. And I just reached out to him, the owner, and I said, hey, would I be able to come and swim in your pool? And he said, yeah, like come on over. And that actually is what really got me back in the water for the first time. Because before then, like I had considered coming out of retirement before, but I realized I didn't really need to come out of retirement. And I wasn't really sure if my body would be able to handle it even if I did, because I've been out of the water now for 7 years. But getting in the water, I was really surprised at how good my body actually felt. Of course, the endurance wasn't there. I could barely go 2K, but over the short distance that I was going, it felt really, really amazing. And then we even did a clinic for a team in downtown Beirut, and the kids really wanted to see me go fast. So like, okay, well, they got this, you know, old like rickety block. Like, okay, well, I'll see what I can do. Got my wife to time it, because then I figured like I could just or to film it, because then I could time the video later. And she filmed it. And after the clinic, I did the time on it, and I think it was like a 10.1, which is, for me, that's really good. So I sent that video to Brent Hawk, and I said, hey, what do you think of this? He goes, dude, you could probably make the Olympic team. I'm like, you think so? So that's actually what sparked it. And I reached out to other swimmers too. I reached out to Anthony Irvin, you know, as somebody who came out of retirement to get his opinion. Reached out to Bruno Fratis to see what he would think. So I was talking to all these other people before I even thought about asking Swimming Canada, because I felt like I needed the confidence first to ask them. But before I did that, like we still kept filming. We started filming the course. So we asked the guy at the country club, okay, now can I actually film this course here? And people don't really get in the pool until about 12 o'clock. So yeah, just come in every morning. So we hired a camera guy, and every morning we just started going to the pool and we just started filming the course. And as I was filming the course, my stroke started feeling better and better and better. And so I started doing more sprints and actually was able to get those times down to like 10.0s, even did a couple of 9.9s. And then I got the confidence to reach out to Swimming Canada and say, hey, what do you guys think?
So we have swimmingsecrets.com and your wife. You have your wife and swimmingsecrets.com, your course that you can take online.
Yeah.
That we can thank those two things for your return to the sport.
Yeah.
I love it.
Can you share one or two swimming secrets with us?
Yes, share.
Well, for real experts out there, these aren't going to necessarily sound like secrets, but for you beginners out there, these are things that I actually thought about when I was a really young swimmer, and these are fundamentals that stuck with me throughout my career. Right? Don't turn your head to breathe. That's one of the first secrets. Right? You've got your body rotation going. Just join your head with your body roll. Maintain perfect alignment the entire time. Right? If you're moving through the water efficiently, then your fitness and your power and your speed, that's all going to come after, right? Minimize the resistance you need to overcome. Don't try to overcome the resistance. Okay, so as a young kid, that was my biggest focus, because I got stuck in lanes with swimmers who were faster than me, and they were lapping me all the time. So I had to figure out ways to not get lapped by them, and that was working on my efficiency. So our course really is designed to help you build the most efficient technique that your body can do. And we do it in a way that actually gives you a crystal clear roadmap from the foundation all the way to the end. Like I said, we go from the breathing to the body alignment to the kick to the body rotation. Like, we work on all that before we even get to the arms, right? Everybody always wants to jump to the arms, right? But we also do it in a way that, like, it's progressive, like, within those modules as well. So, like, it's like taking, I think of, like, really stupid visual analogies all the time, but I kind of think of it like little building blocks all the time. Like, you got to start with all your Lego pieces. Well, if you start building this part, or think of like IKEA furniture. If you go to the end, well, you got to undo everything because you missed a part, and you got to go back. There's that one little screw you missed, right? You got to go all the way to the beginning. So we give you that step-by-step progression. But before we actually decided to do this, like, I'd been using I gotta do a shout out to Finis, because I've been using their products for our clinics for years. Like, we would travel with like 30 of their alignment boards in a suitcase, and we'd give them all to the swimmers for the clinic. So it's like, their alignment boards are probably our favorite teaching tool. We also will sometimes use the bolster paddles to help work on the good hand form connection, because that's another little secret. Your hand is a very small paddle. Your hand and form is a much bigger paddle. So you get into that early vertical form or high elbow catch, right? Maximize your surface hold on the water. And then before the clinic, I asked them, like, would you guys, like, we've been using your products for a long time for teaching. Would you guys support us to do this clinic? And they were like, yes, absolutely, we would support you for the clinic. So they sent us some more product for us to use. And again, this is before I came out of retirement. So they helped us put this course together, and they're helping us sell it as well. And now, like, after I came out of retirement, I was like, hey, Finis, do you guys want to support my comeback journey? And they're like, absolutely, this is amazing. So it's been a really great relationship with them, and I absolutely love their products. But like I said, like, we wouldn't be able to have the results in our teaching if we didn't have like their such like unique products. Like, they're so great. And my coach actually now passes around my alignment board to the other swimmers now, because I feel like that's like one of my secret training tools, or one of my secret training weapons.
If you want swimming secrets from Brent Hayden, go to swimmingsecrets.com. Love hearing that backstory. We're big fans of Finis. I've known John Mix, one of the co-founders, since the early 1990s, when he started out with one product but that company has a lot of integrity. They have a great stable of talent, and I think they're brilliant to bring you on. So we're down to 3 minutes. So I have to just dig into this, buddy. You're 36 years old. I've got to get into it in 3 minutes. The idea of coming back to the sport at that age is, to me, maybe I'm just an anxious and insecure person, but I think that would be very, very frightening. And, what's your headspace? Because you're swimming against titans right now. You got to go up against some heavy duty talent. Where's your headspace?
Honestly, it's like I'm just about the journey. I'm not even thinking about the results. Like, I just want to see, and this is the philosophy I had always had my entire life. The only time I lost it was at the 2008 games, and I think that's why I didn't do well there. Just focus on your own performance. Focus on swimming as fast as you can, and the results will take care of themselves. Like I'm in this journey for myself. I want to see how fast I can swim, but most importantly, I just kind of want an opportunity to leave the sport falling in love with it again. Right, because I really did fall out of love with the sport in 2012. And I just couldn't move forward, and that didn't sit well with me. Right, and so it's just an opportunity to just kind of find that love again and be able to leave the sport in a better place.
It's very philosophical. I think that we spend the first part of our life learning, and then we spend it achieving. And if we're really successful in life, we end it as teachers. And the idea that you're ending it as a teacher, and that brought you back to the sport through swimmingsecrets.com it's kind of beautiful, buddy. Really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to say in the final minute? Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think during this whole time, we've all been out of the pool for a long time. I know a lot of athletes have been freaking out that this time is going to be detrimental to their preparation. Like, just remember, I was out of the pool for 7 years, and within 6 months, I posted my 4th fastest 50-meter freestyle time ever, and those 3 faster were in bodysuits. So I could argue that was actually my best performance ever. I mean, I'll say it did help having Caleb Dressel kick my butt off the starting blocks and having to try to pull him back in the whole time. So, but now I know, where I need to improve in the front part of my race. But, just use this as an example. I mean, you got other examples too. You got Anthony Irwin, you got Derek Torres. Like, a lot of athletes have taken a lot of time off and been able to come back and do great things. And the time off might even put you in a better place. It'll give you your body a chance to recover in ways that the constant training might prevent it from doing. And then it's also going to clear your head. So when you get back into the water, you're going to be a little bit more hungry for it, because now you've experienced what life is like without swimming.
Hey, do you love SwimSwam as much as I do? Do you want hours of endless practice footage, race video, and a guide to the best pancakeries in the country? Then subscribe to our YouTube channel below. And follow us on social media at SwimSwam News on Twitter and Instagram. If we get 1 million followers, I might just eat 1 million pancakes. Only one way to find out.